The Sattler Files.
You're with the Sattler Files. It's Murray Korf, and with me is Reagan Maro from Advantage Settlements. G'day, Reagan.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Now, look, last week we spoke about Advantage Settlements attending to a sale and purchase. So we've sort of covered a lot of that territory last week, didn't we?
Yes, we did, yes.
So we need to sort of maybe go over a couple of other scenarios that, might occur as part of buying and selling property, and in particular houses, I guess we're really talking about, aren't we?
Yes, we are, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's suppose that I own a property with my wife and I want to ensure that my share in my property is transferred to her in the event that I pass away, or vice versa. How do I do this?
Yep. Well, at the time when you enter into an offer and acceptance contract to purchase the property, there's a option on there which states that you can hold the property as either joint tenants or tenants in common.
Okay.
Now, if you're wanting to ensure that your wife receives your benefit in the property, then you'd want to select joint tenants, which means if either one of you was to pass away, the property automatically gets transferred to the other person.
Okay, so then joint tenants is the way to go for that. So tenants in common was the other one that you mentioned. How does that work? So
that's where you own a share in the property. So it could be 50-50, it could be 95-5. You could own it with 10 different people at 10% each. That's a share in the property. That's called tenants in common.
Okay.
Yes.
So and when that happens, if you pass away and your tenants in common with your wife or partner, it just means that the share of your house then goes to your estate. Is that the way that works?
That's exactly right. Yes, it's transferred as per your will. So whatever your wishes are in your will, that's what happens with your share in the property. Okay,
so obviously if you are wanting your partner to automatically assume ownership of the property, obviously joint tenants is the way to go.
Oh, absolutely. It's the best way to go to ensure that security, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's suppose that we don't. Let's suppose, for example, that we elect to go tenants in common. How difficult is it then for your partner to get ownership properly of the property? Presuming that, for example, it's left to her, the estate favours the partner, but you've just got that 10% share. How does that? How can you get your name on the title as the sole owner?
Okay, well, if the estate says that the wife is to, take that, say, 10% ownership in the property, it can be done. What we do is we do a transfer pursuant to the terms of the will. Okay. Transferring that 10% to the wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But then she's got a 10% share, but is it still his name on the title? How does that work?
Well, it kind of happens in two stages. So if you, Murray, were to own a property, you've obviously appointed someone as the executor of your estate. So once you have probate, what we do is we do an application to transfer the property into the name of the executor of the estate or the administrator, and then from there we do a transfer pursuant to the terms of the will.
Okay.
Yeah, so you do get registered, but in the capacity as administrator or executor of the estate.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So now, in the case of once again, the not tenants in common,
joint tenants.
Joint tenants. Sorry, I had a mental blank there. When the property then goes to the ownership of the surviving partner, are there any tax implications for that? I mean, like, for example, stamp duties and that sort of thing?
Yeah, tax obviously I can't comment on because I'm not a tax accountant.
Yeah.
There's no stamp duty implications because we're doing just a straightforward application to transfer the property by survivorship. So it's actually an application by survivorship to be registered. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we don't have to worry about
stamp duty.
Yeah.
And with beneficiaries as well, when it's pursuant to the terms of the will, there's only $20 stamp duty.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Goodness me, I'm surprised that our illustrious government hasn't got hold of that one and put a bit more on there. Okay, so on another scenario, what happens in the case of, say, myself and my brother? We own an investment property together. How do I ensure that the property isn't automatically transferred to him? As obviously I want to ensure my wife receives my share in the property.
Yep. Yeah, well, same as our examples previously. You would obviously own the property as tenants in common with your brother, whether it's 50-50 or not. And you just need to make sure that you've got an up-to-date will and that within the will it leaves the property to your wife. Yeah.
Okay, so if you've got this share, you're by law allowed to deal with that. You can sell that to somebody, can't you, if your tenant's in common?
Yes, you can. You just need to find someone willing to buy it.
Yes, because in that scenario, of course, you don't own it all, and it becomes a bit messy in terms of who has what rights and so on, doesn't it?
That's right. You own a share in the property. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be very hard to find someone that wants to borrow 50%.
Yeah.
And especially if the property is encumbered with a mortgage. You know, I'm not a mortgage broker, but I believe there's some sort of guarantor back and forth that you have to do. They'd obviously have to speak to their broker, but
just absolutely complicated beyond belief.
Yes.
So really, there's not too unless you are a property investor and you're sharing the property payments and everything with someone else and you're just renting it out. There's not really much going for tenants in common, is there?
Well, investors, yes.
Yeah.
You know, for situations where in broken families as well, when, husband and wife, mum and dad remarry, you know, sometimes mum and dad like to protect their interest in the property for the children from that relationship. So they would, like in that circumstance, maybe go tenants in common with their new partner to ensure that their share in the property goes to their own kids. So, that's a situation where it can happen.
Yeah. I suppose by far and away that's the least common way to purchase a property, is it? The tenants in common?
It happens more and more these days.
Does it really?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, especially with the younger generation and, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend or partners, they're putting in 50-50. They want to ensure that their 50-50 is protected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening more and more.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because people obviously, although they're committed, they're not really.
Well, that's right. Well, you know, I think, you know, watch too much telly and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know, people don't stay together like they used to in the olden days sort of thing. So
No.
I think, I don't know. Yeah, we just see it a lot more often now.
Is that right? That's very interesting because clearly, you know, they're looking to protect their interests in the property, and I suppose that, once again, I'm not a lawyer either, but when you come to the division of property, that's already divided. The house is already, you know, your partner owns 50% or whatever it is, and you own 50%. Well, there it is. You've got the split's already there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd have to obviously speak to a family lawyer.
Of course, yeah. But it's just interesting that I'm sure that behind the idea of a tenants in common arrangement, there's the thought that maybe one day we might split, so that might make it a bit easier and we don't have to sell the house. Yeah,
there could be those thoughts as well. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I see a lot these days, you know, obviously it's quite hard for first homeowners saving up for their deposit. I do see a lot brothers and sisters or brothers and brothers or besties buying properties together, and they all pretty much go tenants in common.
Yeah.
Obviously they want their family to receive their share if something was to happen to either of them.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we go about ensuring that ours is that we go about this in the right way so that our wishes are met?
Yeah. We at the point of contract, so when you see that beautiful property that you want to buy and you're meeting with the real estate agent, it's really important that at that time you note how you wish to hold the property, especially if it's a share basis thing. So if you and your brother, as an example, again, we're going to buy property together and you're putting in 70% and your brother 30%, and you want to ensure that's reflected on the title as a 70-30 ownership, it's very important that that's stated on the contract because you can cause stamp duty implications.
Okay.
So, you know, with, say, best friends 70-30 as an example, I'll use best friends because they're not related. If it wasn't stated on the contract, the State Revenue Department will assume 50-50. So they can actually see that transfer of the extra 30%, 20% as a extra benefit being transferred and raise more duty on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it has to be, and as a settlement agent, do you obviously you take notice of that as you're doing the settlement, or do you if it's not right and people say to you, no, it's a 70-30,
Yes.
Can you change it? Or do you have to go back and rewrite the contract?
Oh, we're not allowed to rewrite contracts.
Okay.
No.
Is that right?
No, you're not. No, because if you're rewriting a contract just because of, in this instance, due to the shareholding not being stated on the contract, it can be seen as a replacement contract, and state revenue could raise full duty on the next contract. So you'll be paying stamp duty twice. They can see it as another transaction. So this is why it's so important. So if we received a contract where there is that error, what would I ask the buyer for is evidence. So I would like to see that you've paid 70% of the deposit, you've paid 30% of the deposit. Get all the evidence you can and submit it to the State Revenue Department for consideration. If there is a relationship like brother, sister, mum, dad, grandma or children, straight up and down relationship, then there is a form we can use and there's only an extra $20 duty. But if there's no relationship, it can cost you a lot of money if it's not done correctly in the first place.
Goodness me, it's a sad old day when you don't learn something, and I have learnt something today about that. Jeepers, I didn't realise that it was just so you can't just tear up the contract and start again.
No, you can't, because if anybody has a copy of that contract, as example, the real estate agent, the seller's settlement agent, the buyer's settlement agent, and one of those were audited, and it's picked up that, hang on, this contract's different to the one that was at the last agency, then you can be raised for double duty.
Goodness me, that's astounding. So they get you coming and going with that, don't they?
Yes.
You can't just say we made a mistake.
No, and it's the same as well when you're buying a property, say in the name of a trust or something like that. You need to know the details at the time of contract. You can't just say, I'm going to buy a property in the name of a trust that I'm setting up in a month. You need to know the entity at the time you're entering into that contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can trip you up, aren't there, that, unless you're aware of them, that you just don't know about, and you really should be talking. They should be talking to a settlement agent really before they do anything to make sure that they're going down the right path.
We encourage it, and for investors, we say to speak to your accountant as well. Obviously, your accountant's the one that gives you advice with what investments you have, so it's really important that you speak to your accountant to ensure that you are entering into a contract in the correct entity. Because if you entered into it in XYZ, but the accountant said, no, you're meant to enter into it as ABC company, then you can be left, paying a lot extra.
And more duty yet again.
Yes.
Oh my goodness me.
So you need to make sure that at that time of contract and that you've sought the relevant advice.
Yeah. And do you recommend that people, just ordinary folks who are buying a house together, just as, husband and wife, for example, is it a good thing to go and talk to you guys first?
Absolutely. We do offer a free service where we do pre-purchase consultations.
Okay.
Where we'll actually meet with someone before they enter into a contract and go through what conditions they should have on that contract, and discuss things like, the tenancy and those bits and pieces as well.
Yeah, so that they know that they're doing the right thing when they're talking to their estate agent and writing up the agreement.
That's right, and so that they know that what everyone within that transaction is saying is correct as well. Ultimately, the real estate agent's engaged by the seller and they're there to act in their best interest. They do have a duty of care to the buyer, but it's good and self-satisfaction really for a buyer to have that separate person that they can call and talk to.
Yeah.
So we do offer that service.
Yeah, then no surprises down the track where you get hit with another bill from the State Revenue Office.
That's exactly right, yes, exactly.
That'd spoil your day, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely it would, yes. And I've seen it happen before.
Oh, Reagan, have you really?
Yeah, and things like where the husband works and the wife doesn't. So, they buy a property and the accountant says, you really should have brought this 80-20 and stuff like that. It can cause issues later. So it's important to get it correct in the first instance.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable. It's you think it's a straightforward process, but it really isn't, is it?
No, it's legally binding contract at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I suppose the state revenues has these rules so that people don't take the mickey and
Well, yeah, they could so easily do that, couldn't they?
Yeah.
And work around it and that sort of
That's
thing
right, yes.
as well. So it's got to be a safe process where people don't get ripped off.
Absolutely.
And okay. Well, that's very interesting because I didn't realise half of those sort of things that we've talked about today, because it's just so scary. You just think you're doing the right thing, and all of a sudden you run into all these problems, and it costs you money to get it sorted, doesn't it?
It does, yes. So it's always important that it is correct, and it's always important as well that you have up-to-date wills. They're very, very important. Yeah.
Okay, after you've done the...
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you're holding a property as tenants in common, you'll want to ensure that your will's up to date as well.
Okay.
Just to ensure that it is as per your wishes at that time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's another point that you often forget about, isn't it? People don't think about those sorts of things in the event of their passing. So that's a sort of a checklist that you go through with your clients as you're preparing the settlement.
When I meet with them to sign paperwork, I always ask the question if they've got up-to-date wills, just to ensure that, they realise how important it is.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's got to be reflective of their wishes, and when your circumstances change, like when you're buying tenants in common property, you really do have to account for that asset because it's a new one, basically, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
So
it's important to get legal advice, to understand what situations in life can affect your will as well. So we're talking with Reagan Maro about property settlements, and I've been having a masterclass lesson in how this can affect your life if you don't get it right. It's so interesting to see that people sometimes just take that for granted. They focus solely on the property that they want. They focus on, the repayments they're going to have to make, but they don't focus on some of the details that are there that could really come back to bite them if it's not right. Yeah, it's the little things, and the example I use of split families as well. When my husband has a couple of kids and I'm from a different relationship, and, before we bought the family home, we talked about all that to ensure that the kids were looked after as well as me, and made sure we made the right choices for that as well. You need to take everything into consideration when you invest.
And it's not the sort of process you should undertake as a do-it-yourself, a DIY thing, is there?
Definitely not, no.
How bad could that be?
I know lawyers flinch at the do-it-yourself will kits as well.
Yeah, they do.
I do encourage people to engage a qualified lawyer to do it.
Just as a quick aside, I was executor to a will that was one of those do-it-yourself ones.
Yes.
And they put a codicil on it, and codicil is an addition or a subtraction from the will, and it wasn't signed properly. And I can assure you that if you don't get that right, that you are in a world of pain.
I know.
With the Supreme Court. Because they just will not give you probate on it.
No. And when I had my will done, the lawyer said to me, don't paperclip, don't staple, don't do anything.
No.
It has to remain perfect.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's, reasonable doubt that maybe there was something paperclipped to the front with new wishes on it. So it's another thing,
That's right. And you're quite right. So you recommend to your clients, get your will sorted out with a lawyer. Don't get the one from the post office or the newsagent.
I do, yes. I recommend legal advice.
Well done.
From a lawyer that specialises in that area.
Yeah, and they're around, aren't they, lawyers that specialise in that?
Yes.
Reagan, it's been absolutely fascinating in this very short time. I've learnt so much today, so thank you for teaching me.
No problems.
And we'll look forward to catching up with you again in a week or so.
Sounds perfect to me. Thank you for having me.
More on the Sattler Files very shortly.
This is the Sattler Files.
Dev Writers, when you're looking for attention to detail and a uniquely designed home to suit all your needs. At DevRight Homes, we only build a limited number of homes per year, so we can truly focus on what you want out of a prestige home builder. We've continually won awards for excellence, with a record number of wins last year and the proud winner of the Australian Townhouse Villa of the Year. While we love building homes to suit each client, we pride ourselves on designing homes that take into account the special safety needs of some of our clients. If you have a dream, we can make it come true. Talk to Jay Mangano and find out more about DevRight Homes at www.devright.com.au.
You need banking services of any type. Secure Force Protective Services run a cash and transit service here in Perth. From as little as $25, why risk your employees travelling to the bank when Secure Force can do it for you? Give us a call at 9440-5011.
You only ever want the best for your family, and no one understands this better than the caring ladies at Marina Perslow and Associates. That's why we offer Australia's leading prepaid funeral plan. It means your family won't be left with the added strain of organising your funeral, and everything will be taken care of, all the little details. Your family will have the support they need with a woman's touch and gentle understanding. So leave them with loving memories and leave the rest to us. Visit marinaperslowfunerals.com.au or phone 9388 1623.
I'm John Hughes. If you want a hassle-free, very enjoyable and happy experience when buying your next vehicle, come to me in Victoria Park. I personally train all my salespeople to be non-pushy, friendly and professional, and we always strive to provide first-class before and after-sales service to all of my customers. So choose your dealer before you choose your car. That's John Hughes in Victoria Park, your car buying destination. DL 6061.
This is the Sattler 5.